Should I make this be by yourself?
Welcome to today.
Maybe by himself. Thank you.
So you can just go right to this little website
Okay, good morning, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. Just in the interest of time, we try to wait as long as we can. We have a video here introducing the morning from Mark Hyler, so I'm going to go ahead and play that.
Welcome to today's professional development on sheltered instruction. We understand that for many of you, today's sessions will be a refresher. For others, sheltered instruction may be a new topic. Regardless of your fluency in the use of sheltered instruction, we hope you will find something useful from today's sessions. In November, several Westwood teachers joined the ESL department for a 2-day training in sheltered instruction. In consultation with these teachers, ESL teachers designed today's sessions to bring the best aspects of the 2-day session to our teachers. What you will experience today resonated with the cadre as important, memorable, or useful. Please use these teachers as resources for your own questioning and development of today's material. To begin with, we hope to answer 3 questions. The first being, what is sheltered instruction? Secondly, why does one need to know it? And lastly, what does one do with it? The Texas Education Code and Texas Administrative Code contain language which specifies ESL programs at the secondary level and defines the program emphasis not merely upon the mastery of English language skills, but upon the integration of the core disciplines within the program as well. Thus, ESL programs include core subject teachers as integral components of the overall ESL program. Further, in order for school districts to receive funding for identified ESL students, all staff members must be trained in the use of sheltered instruction. The term sheltered instruction can be problematic, especially for a new teacher who may be unfamiliar with the term. One might easily observe a classroom full of English language learners in the same class being conducted by ESL teachers, for which the students receive high school credit for courses in English 1 and English 2. While these teachers utilize sheltered instructional techniques, they do so as an additive model for providing access to content, rather than as a subtractive model for sheltering students from opportunities to progress. Thus, sheltered instruction is best thought of as providing scaffolding in the construction of content knowledge and meaning. It is the instruction that is sheltered. Content area teachers build upon meaning foundations using specific techniques, many of which are drawn from research in second language acquisition. These techniques reinforce content material and build academic language proficiency. In Round Rock, ISD, Sheltered Instruction Plus is the favored system due to its focus upon direct classroom application. Developed by John Seidlitz, Sheltered Instruction Plus emphasizes classroom strategies and draws upon preeminent research in the field. SI Plus can be summarized by its 2 supporting features. If you can remember these and find ways to implement them in each lesson to target the specific needs of ELLs, you are using sheltered instruction. What you may find in doing so is that you are not only meeting the learning needs of ELLs in your classroom, but those of all students. We hope you find that to be true as you implement today's techniques and strategies.
Oh, okay, sure. Sorry. Good morning, everybody, again. My name is Chris Lockamy. I'm an instructional coach in English Language Arts for the district. We're here today to kind of familiarize you with making content comprehensible. This is Catherine Munoz. This is kind of her brainchild. We work together on this, so if you have something you want to say.
I appreciate you, Chris, for having been a great help and a great coach, and I've learned a lot from working with you. If you ever have a chance to work with Chris, you ought to take it. He's great. We're going to get together today, and we're going to talk about some very simple ways that you can make your content, whether it be science, whether it be math, comprehensible to your students that are new to the country and maybe a beginner or intermediate level speaker.
Okay, these are the goals. I'm not going to go over this too much because he just mentioned it, but I did want to make a couple of points. The first is that this is our job as content teachers, not just English language arts teachers, to make sure that we are pre-teaching academic vocabulary in our classrooms. This is challenging when we have 33 different languages spoken on this campus, I believe. And even worse when they're just beginning to understand and they're in your on-level classroom. So you're not just getting advanced or advanced high learners in your room. You're going to be getting, for example, in a math class on level, you could have somebody who is a beginning English language learner. So that's a really big challenge for us, obviously. So these are the goals that we're going to be working on today is how can we make content comprehensible? That means we understand our content and make sure that we're developing academic language. Again, I want to stress this is not just about English teachers. This is about everyone. We all have this responsibility, okay? So why teach vocabulary? According to Marzano, the strongest action a teacher can take is to ensure that students have the academic background knowledge to understand the content that they will be encountering in your class. This is about direct instruction. We need to actively teach academic vocabulary. And obviously, when students understand these terms, it's going to be easier for them to understand the information that they're getting and the content in your classroom. And it is hard to read a passage if you don't know many of the words. Obviously, it's going to look something like this here. Okay? Let Catherine take it from here.
How many people have seen the cone of learning? Give me a thumbs up if you've seen this before. If you've been in the educational world for a long time, you've probably seen it. Confucius says, I see and I forget, I hear and I remember, I do and I understand. This idea of doing and learning has been around for a very long time, but somewhere in our past, it kind of got pushed to the side. And it's only been since the 1960s that we have started seeing research that goes back to this theory that we learn most of what we do, we learn most when we say and do. And that's what we're going to be drawing on is the cone of learning. Now, oops, not quite, I'm sorry.
Sorry about that.
What we read and what we hear in direct instruction, those things are important. And it's not, we're not saying take those things away, but we have to make sure that the majority of our time is spent on the actual real-life experiences. So when you have vocabulary that you want your students to know, the way that you probably typically do it is maybe assign it for homework. Give them 30 terms, the chapter's coming up, you know they're going to need to know these words, you send them home and you have them do his homework. And then they get into the dictionary and they copy the dictionary definition. So the meaning of success is to succeed. Do they have any better understanding of the word success, right? So we have to think about how we're going to be teaching that vocabulary because honestly, if they don't have the words, the vocabulary to understand what you're saying, they're not going to make any sense of your content. And we have to make our content comprehensible. So Marzano is how many people have heard of Marzano? Okay, good, that's great. That's who we're going to be talking about today. Marzano has 6 steps of vocabulary instruction. Very simple to do, very easy to incorporate, but you have to do it conscientiously. So the first step of Marzano's is that you need to introduce the word. You might tell a little story to kind of activate their interest. Then you're going to describe the word. You're not going to describe the word like it would be in the dictionary. You're going to give real life words, real easy understanding definition. You might give an example, you might give a picture, and if you have beginner intermediate ELLs, you're going to want to actually maybe give them that word in their own language. Now, that may be time consuming, but you could just have the students go to Google and look it up and look for a Google image, just so that they have that picture. If you have a beginner ELL or a intermediate ELL, it is to your advantage to let them have a computer or a translator. Computer's better, because then you have that land code that you can make sure that they're on the right place. And have them just look up the words that they don't know.
Can we jump in here?
Yes.
Real quick, this might, I just want to make sure I mention this. We're not saying that you should do every academic term every day, like just pick a couple. I just want to make sure that you understand. It's the two that you think are foundational for the unit and the week that you're working on, okay? That it's two, maybe three. We're not talking about all of it at the same time, all right?
Very good, thank you.
Yeah.
The second step then is for the student to restate the definition in their own word. It's very important at this point though that you're going around and monitoring them to make sure that they are getting the right definition and the right bit of understanding. And if they're not, you can redirect them, maybe have them go to Google Slides and look at an image, have them talk to a neighbor who speaks their language. But you want to make sure that they have that definition in their own words so that they take ownership of it. Step 3.
On their language, then?
Yes, you can. It is all right for your students to talk to each other in their own language.
No, when they write it, when
Yes, they can write it in their own language, yes. If they're beginner and intermediate, that may be where they are. So we're scaffolding even amongst our ELLs. Our goal is to get them to the point where they don't need to use their own language, that they can find words. But if you have a limited vocabulary, then you may not even have the words to be able to describe the new vocabulary terms, right? The next thing is to show the definition. The best thing that you can do for a student is give them some kind of action to connect. There's something about doing an action and a word that makes it stick. You might have them draw a picture, do a graph, act it out. Find some way that they are actually doing it. So the first two are linguistic, but this one is also very, very important. It's a non-linguistic. It's using all parts of their brain. And you know, we're all about brain-based. Step 4. Then we want the students to be engaged with the word. You're going to have some kind of activities like finding the synonyms that would match this, using a Venn diagram, compare this word with that word. Have them do some kind of engagement with that word so that they're thinking about it in different ways. And when they can actually discuss the word and discuss how it's applied, then you know that you're getting to that higher level of understanding. So we want them to give them as many opportunities to discuss it. And sometimes that discussion may have to happen in their own language. So you might want to pair them up with someone who speaks their language, or someone who is a strong in that subject area. But you want to give them the opportunity to discuss it in a way that they're not going to be embarrassed or uncomfortable. So you want to give them that small group discussions. And the last step is to play. When you play with something, you love it. And your anxiety level goes down. You are more apt to take risks. Kids have to take risks. They have to feel like it's safe to take risks in order to really own a word and own a concept. This is probably one of the most underutilized tools in our teacher toolbox. There are all kinds of games that you can do that are simple. They're online. You can have just a slide where they have a little race to how many sentences can you come up with. Anything that engages them with that word with low anxiety level. You have to understand that our ELLs are very anxious about speaking in front of other people. And so giving them this opportunity is only going to strengthen them. So if you go back to the cone of learning, you can see how Marzano's steps really fit in. The majority of the steps that you do go to this foundational level where the biggest part of learning. So I hope that you can see why these 6 steps are worth taking. Like Chris said, you can't do it with all 30 vocabulary words you have for a chapter or a unit, but find the ones that make the biggest bang for your buck. Maybe words that other words can attach to.
And again, make sure that you understand that you might only want to do steps 1 through 3 when you first roll out the first couple of words, and then you would do the rest of the steps throughout the week with those same foundational words that you need for that week, those academic terms that you need.
Yeah, all these steps don't have to happen on the same day. So, in your classroom, if you were to give your students an article such as this, how long would you give them to read it? It's 130 words. Anybody? A couple of minutes? 2
5
minutes?
minutes.
Yeah. How many?
Probably 5.
5?
If it's an on-level class, sure.
Okay, so 2 to 5 minutes. Okay, good. What if it was written from left to right? We have some people that have, that's the way their native language is written, is left to right. What if it was written in different characters? Okay, it can be challenging. So, here's a short article. How long do you think that if I were to ask you to answer the first 3 questions and the last questions, how long do you think that you could do it?
If we got close.
Huh?
If we got close.
Oh, that's okay, that's right. But you get the idea, right? Yeah, you know, it's just a short article. It's only 129 words. You said 2 to 5 minutes on the other one, right? So, do you think 4 minutes would be enough to maybe? What if I let you use a buddy? You can read it with a buddy. That would help. Even if you got to answer the questions together.
That might help.
That might help. Okay. All right. I tell you, I'm going to give you 4 minutes. On that yellow folder, you may work with a buddy. Open up the yellow folder, and you'll see that article. Oh, the non-orange folder. The non-orange folder. Okay.
I want candy.
So let's do it.
Time is up. Let's see, would you like to see the answers?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Who got a middle off booth and was it a fizzle?
Not many. 11.
Oh, very good. You're Jeff.
It was not a fizzle.
Brian, and you got it right. Congratulations. You must be an expert nonsense language learner.
I have daughters.
Oh, did by any chance did you get the second one?
Oh, I thought we were supposed to.
No, that's okay. That's all right. We're trying to cut out on the time, but let me just give you the answers. The Blavin has Blavin's 2 Zixies on her Rippy. Oh, Miss Howard, did you get that one?
Yeah, I got 2 6.
Oh, very good. Did you get did you get a question for your buddy chance, Miss Howard? Okay. There are shift loss and dip loss. The easiest way for Zexy to pajuke is by hubbling. That was 75. Okay. What about the reason why Brian and Miss Howard were able to get those questions? Why was it so easy for you to? Did you understand the answer, Brian?
No.
Miss Howard, did you understand the answer?
No, I'm just looking for clues.
You were looking for clues. So you answered the question correctly, but you didn't understand what you answered.
This is the point.
Unless I didn't drill it down hard enough.
Hit us over the head.
These are all detailed questions. Your students might be able to answer detailed questions unless they get frustrated, like Joshua did and just said, forget it. I'll wait till you get the answer, then I'll just copy down your answer. You know, that's the response. That's the reality of it. Okay, let's look at this next question, the last question. It was, if the boop was E-fizzle, why do you think T. Middleoff spackled the boop down?
It is.
We put an answer.
Oh, let me hear your answer.
Well, we didn't know if it was like an emotion or if it was an action, that if he either was or he was feeling urgent.
He felt dirgent.
Okay, he felt urgent or he was urgent, I don't know the tense or what that, I don't know the verb.
Very good attempt, very good attempt. Here's the answer. Even though the boop was E-fizzle, T. Magall spackled the boop, probably because if the Blavin had neggled to a plotter with Rippy, then the Riplaw's Zexy's edicts would have only quint 2,000 bean boobs. Also, the TV knew WSBN could report how T. Migeloff Edix and Blabbin, who was trying to help Grifflaw Zixie to produce, while Plummer in Castling and got stuck with 168,000 bean boob. That would be a fizzle for T. Migeloff. Did you get that?
No, but Big Durden's probably a more efficient way of saying that. I mean, I both.
More succinct, yeah.
Very good. So why do you think this question was a little harder to answer?
Why?
There was inferring involved. There was higher critical thinking skills involved. So when we ask our students to do those higher level questions, they're not going to be able to do it. And isn't that where we want to land our focus, is on those higher level thinkings? It's easy to do the details. They can do that. But we want them to get to the higher levels. And even though they're ELLs, we still want them to do those critical thinking skills. So go ahead and turn to your neighbors and tell them what you think you thought about this. Using this structured conversation. I think questions 1 through 3, blank to answer. So turn to your shoulder partner. If you don't have a shoulder partner, you can do 3 shoulder partner.
I mean, I don't know what it says. But I mean, we do have some questions that are just straight comprehension. Okay. Straight reading. I mean, like I did this the other day over the Odyssey. It was literally just to see if they had research. So sometimes we talk, you know. But I mean, that's like testing to see if they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, kind of not actually advancing their accountability. Right.
Oh, are we doing that?
Yeah.
I think there's
I
probably
do like it. They love it.
yeah.
Okay. Let's move on. You guys, you don't know the vocabulary, right? So let's go ahead and try it out. We're going to quickly go through the first 6 steps so that you can understand this article a little bit better. All right? Next one. These are all the words that are on there that you probably don't know. But by the way, would anybody consider themselves a beginner, intermediate, or advanced nonsense language learner? Everybody consider themselves a beginner? Everybody a beginner? Okay. All right. All right. Just want to make sure we're all in the same boat. So these are the words that you probably didn't know. And there was even some prefixes and suffixes that changed the meaning a bit. And so I have to choose. I cannot teach all 30 of these words to you in the short time that we have. I have to choose. And today I'm only going to choose one. And the word I'm going to choose is fajoop. Fajoop, in my mind, kind of, there's a lot of words that I can draw from and talk about and have you think about while I'm focusing on fajoop. All right? So, fajoop. I'm going to activate your interest and by telling you a little story. And this is where you come in, Brian. My son plays football. My first 2 sons played football as well, but they were always second string, so I just sat in the stands and enjoyed the visiting with my neighbors. And then at the very last 2 or 3 minutes of the game, my sons would go in and I would cheer for them. But this last son, my youngest son, is good. And I'd be up in the stands and everybody would be yelling. I'd go, all right, Jacob. Well, all the moms that I had become friends with bought a shirt. And I thought, I'm going to get one of those shirts because it's so blingy. I loved it. My son wouldn't let me wear it to the game. I'm not allowed to. This is the first time I've worn this shirt. My son is a linebacker. I'm not an offensive mom. I don't fajoop football. Don't understand. I don't fajoop football. So let's think. Let me just give you some more examples of fajoop. That's my personal story. Fajoop. You have to. Oh, sometimes you get together with friends and you fajoop over coffee. An author can fajoop with you through their novels that they write. People who cannot, that are deaf and mute, fajoop with their hands. You can even fajoop with someone who's castling in a international, like in Canada, and they can send you pictures through Facebook. You can be right there and fajoop with them. But be careful. If you fidget with your friends in Canada by texting and then you don't have a plot or plan, then you're going to end up having a big boot. You'll have to settle a big boot. All right? So, what do you think fidget means? Communicate. Okay, so communicate might still be a word bigger than what my students can understand, so I'm going to put it in a even a smaller, to give and exchange information or ideas. All right? So that's step one. Then I'm going to want them to go into their journal, a vocabulary journal. Now I went to the TCEA conference and they gave us these great online journals, and I'm going to share this with you on our Google Classroom. But in the journal, they can go ahead and they're going to write, go down to slide 3, there you go. You're going to have them write in their own words their definition. They're going to find a picture or something that they can draw a picture, anything that represents a non-linguistic representation of that word, and come up with a sentence. Now, I didn't fill out the synonyms and antonyms because that's going to happen along the way, throughout the week. I'll say, hey, does this word remind you of anything? And then we'll go back and they'll write it in. Now, there's other different ways that you can add to their knowledge. You could do Venn diagrams. That box right there is for adding knowledge, and it can be done in different ways. So this is a great tool that you can have. And let's go back here. Go back. And so that's actually step, you're actually doing several of those steps. I think you have to go back to
the presentation?
yes.
Oh,
Yeah, that's all I was going to show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. That's going to be the. Anyway, so you've done in those, and using that vocabulary, you've done steps 2, 3, 4, and 5. The only thing you haven't done is the game. And so right now, I am going.
I'm going to tell you it's not coming off. Anybody got a clue here?
It should go back to where's our?
I got it. I got
There
it.
you go. Okay, no, that's his. Anyways, I want you to get out, turn your paper over. We're going to play a little game, and you're going to race. What I want you to do is I want you to pull out the orange folder. On the orange folder, there is the article that is been highlighted for you, and the definitions are all on the right-hand side in that column.
Okay, we're back.
Before we play our game, let me just share the one. The next slide.
I'm trying.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay, go to the next one.
Okay.
No, go back. Let's see.
Hold on.
No, keep. You know what? Keep going. Go forward. I'm going to go right to. I'm going to skip the game. And I'll come back to the game.
Okay.
Okay. What you have in front of you is another modification that you can do with your text. You can highlight just the important words, leaving out adjectives and adverbs and other things that are not necessary. So when you click it, when you so that when your student is reading it, they see the words that they need to focus on and make sure that they understand. Okay. Another thing that you can do is go to Rewordify. Yeah. Rewordify.com, and you'll need to go to the URL and click it. You can actually, it's going to be an article right here somewhere.
This is not.
Oh, it's not my computer. Well, while I'm talking, find the URL.
Got it.
Okay, so what you can do is go to Rewordify, go to Settings, and go to the easiest blocks. It'll be like 4 different places where you can say easiest. Choose easiest. Then you can either take your document, cut and paste it, and put it right in, or you can take the URL and drop it in. If you drop in the URL, it'll look just like the document you want them to read. And what it will do is it will give you a list of vocabulary words that will help them. So you don't have to sit there and figure out what words. It'll give you a list. It'll look just like this. All right? That's okay. So at this point, I want you to go ahead and do the game. The game is,
So you want to put the URL in?
do you want to do that? Let's show them that if we have time. I don't wanna-
Where is it?
No, you put the URL right in here.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, right there.
Yeah, there you go. Now reorderify.
And
You know, you like, yeah, that's fine.
okay. So we put it in Rewordify. You can see the title. It has the same picture.
And what it's done is it has substituted the higher level word with a simpler word. Now I prefer, you can have it presented different ways, but I prefer to have the words on the side because that way it forces the student to read the higher level word and connect it to the definition. So you're going to get more bang for your buck in learning if you don't have it embedded. All right? That's a choice. If you have a student that's struggling, you might want to be kind and let them have it right there. So that's what I've given you. I've given you a rewordified document. On the side is the definitions. What I would like you to do is I'd like for you to go to the game part now. You're going to have a race. With you and your partner are going to race. We're going to see who can come up with the most. Looking at the words on the side, I want you to connect Faju with as many words in that column as possible. And the way that you're going to do is you're going to say, it's going to get it up there. That's all right. Faju is connected to and you're going to choose another word on here, and you're going to say because.
You got it.
You got it?
Yep.
All right. So here's an example. Fajub and Rippy. Look at it. Fajub.
I don't know why it's not.
Okay. Fajub and Rippy are connected. Just go right there to that. Go out. There it is. Fajub are connected because what happened to it?
Oh, it's right here.
There it is. A Rippy Fajub's the agreement between the middle-off company and the customer. So you're coming up with a sentence that shows how these two can go together. All right? Does that make sense? Okay, so you're choosing Fajub, and you're going to choose a word. Let's just say another word. Fajub and Blabbin. Blabbin and Fajub are connected because Blabbins like to communicate about the latest gossip all the time. All right. A woman, okay? Boo. If you, Fajub,
Connection does
long
not have to be
distance,
on the
do it on the back side. Okay, are you ready for a race? Do you have a partner?
Pick as many words as you can, and then
Do you
write
want to come up with as many
definitions.
sentences as you can? On your mark and set, go. You're working with a partner.
Oh, we're working with a partner. Give them process. Right.
Due to time constraints and technical difficulties, we need to go ahead and bring you back. So you need to
We're
stop.
pretty much done.
Okay, so guys, how many got 5? I heard somebody had 5. Ooh, anybody have more than 5? How many did y'all guys have? 6. Anybody have more than 6? How many did y'all have?
They're neat.
7. Anybody more than 7?
If you connect 3 words, then it's kind of like two.
As it turns out.
I guess I could, yeah. What how many do you have? How many do you have?
Well, I have 6, but 2 of them are 3 words.
Okay, so then you have 8. Okay, anybody have more than 8? And who's your partner, Tracy? Is Tracy your partner, right? Oh, well, how many do you have together?
Well, they don't follow instructions, so we want.
I think there's it's so hard to do technology. Look at we're the perfect example of why it doesn't work.
Okay, so guys, I hope you guys understand. See how much fun this was? Do you think that if you saw that last question, you can answer that last question now? You can take those home. You can take those. I don't need those back if you want those. But I hope that you can see the validity in teaching those steps and not forgetting the games.
Okay, just to kind of reiterate, making sure that we are understanding that we need quality first instruction. Today, the strategies that we've taught you are going to be helping you bundle, help you with your new content when you're doing direct instruction. We talked about chunking new content. That's by doing each word separately and going through the 6 steps in Marzano, giving the kids time to process these academic terms, and then recording or representing their new content. That's through the steps when the kids are actually playing with the word, writing their own definition, and drawing pictures of it, okay? So that's what we worked on today. Real quickly, because we're out of time. On a sticky note, please identify 3 academic, these are the break terms, you're going to hear about this today and the other
You have a sticky
sessions.
note on your.
You will be pre-teaching in your classroom. 3 academic vocabulary words you think you could use the 6 steps on in your vocabulary and your faculty students.
And you can place them on the door as you rotate to E1302. And ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to have ESL support on your walls, we have posters, we have books, we have manipulatives. So if you would like any of this, take a picture of what you want and send us an email. We will make sure that it's delivered to your classroom.
Sticky notes go right up here, please, when you're on the way out. That's it for your execution.
It's either the E or the library.